Today, I am bringing you the truth about imposter syndrome. This is Jurgen Rasmussen, by the way. Welcome to the Provocative Hypnosis blog. So, imposter syndrome is spot on. It hits the nail on the head because the you who you take yourself to be is, in fact, an imposter. So, what's called imposter syndrome then is a wonderful opportunity to wake up from a psychological illusion. To quote the Buddha, he used to say that in seeing, there's only the seeing, in hearing, there's only the hearing, in cognizing, there's only the cognizing, and in feeling, there's only the feeling. Now, what he's saying by this is that the thought process creates an ad hoc entity, and I thought after the fact that claims credit and says, I saw that. But the trick is the process of seeing occurs, and then sometimes after the fact, this I thought appears on the scene as an ad hoc entity and claims credit for it and says, I saw that. And this is a psychological magic trick because this makes it seem as if what came after the I thought that took credit was actually there prior to the seeing and the initiator of it. This is a magic trick. This is a trick of the mind. The process of hearing occurs, and then sometimes an I thought occurs, claims credit, and says, I heard that. But that's like the drunk uncle who's been sleeping in the back of the van during his nephew's guitar performance, coming up on stage drunk, bowing and taking credit for being a great guitar playing after the fact. He had nothing to do with it whatsoever. A particular thought or feeling emerges. And then afterwards, this I thought emerges and says, I came up with that. I'm proud or I'm ashamed. This I thought is an imposter of sorts. Now, of course, it's just a thought, but it's an imposter in the sense that it's claiming credit for something that it does not really deserve credit for. So, right now, for example, as I say this, some thought might emerge in your mind that says, this Rasmussen guy's making sense. Or, what the hell is he talking about? Of course I'm making decisions. That voice of the mind, so to speak, or that thought that says, what is he talking about? That might seem like you. Because these self-referential I thoughts, they often speak in the first position, and they seem to be who we are. But they're not. They're imposters in the sense that they claim credit for being the initiators of stuff they in fact are not the initiators of. So when these thoughts kind of come along and claim to be you in a sense, as if what you fundamentally are is based in or rooted in that temporary thought, that's an imposter. It's not you in the sense of being or life itself that is an imposter, but it's the I thought identified with that is the imposter. So you, in that sense, are not the imposter, but the I thought is, or the process of identification, if you will. So in life, life essentially just occurs. The thinking process makes it seem as if there's this independent, permanent sense of self, this I, that has a future, is in the now, and is moving into or has a past, I should say, is in the now and is moving into the future, and which is often located in here, looking out at a world separate from it out there. This is a thought construct. It's part of regular healthy psychological development. It has its uses and its utilities, but it is a thought construct. Now, this trick of the mind makes it seem as if there's a thinker behind the thoughts, a chooser behind the choices, a decider behind the decisions, a conductor who's conducting the orchestra, if you will, a doer behind the doings, a witnesser behind the witnessing. It's this positive hallucination, to use hypnosis language, that is the trick of the mind and the faulty identification. So, what's the solution to this? Well, there's not really a solution to it per se, but it's possible to inquire. It's possible to do self-inquiry where you meditate and you sincerely look to see if there's a seer behind the seeing, or if there's a listener in addition to the listening, or if there's a thinker somewhere to be located behind the thoughts. Now, if you just do this and you just sit there thinking, your mind's just going to create stories and go, yeah, 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 I see that, I saw that. I'm talking about meditating, sensing, feeling into, genuinely inquiring. And if you do, you will notice that the I thought is, in fact, an imposter, an after the fact ad hoc entity that kind of claims credit for stuff. But that thought is not essential to what you are or who you are. Not implying that there really is a who you are to begin with, right? Because that's really just another thought. But here's an interesting question to play with to kind of point you in this direction. Very often, when I do seminars or I work with clients, I ask them, when do you feel the most like yourself? Like, when do you feel the most comfortable in your own skin? And then I very often ask them, when do you feel the least like yourself? Like you feel alienated, or you feel, you might say something like, I wasn't myself, or that just wasn't me. And the answers are always the same, and they're seemingly paradoxical. And that is that, we humans have all sorts of processes going on in our mind body systems. One of these processes is the process of selfing. That process of claiming, making distinctions, building a sense of identity over time. And as I said, there's some uses to that, there's some utilities in that. But people feel the least like themselves when there's the most selfing activity, meaning that when there's the most self referential thinking going on, that's when people feel the least like themselves. They feel alienated. And when they feel the most like themselves, to use that term, the most comfortable in their own skin, it's either the absence or the relative absence of self referential thinking, meaning there's just the sunsets, there's just the skiing, there's just the lovemaking, there's just the stillness, there's just life unfolding. What does this show you if you meditate on it? Well, it shows you that the selfing process, the story of Mike or Catherine or whatever your name might be, the story of Mike or Catherine is not always there. And whenever it's not there or dissolves, being itself or life itself, consciousness itself, doesn't dissolve. And that means that these self referential thoughts are not essential to who or what you fundamentally are. In this sense, imposter syndrome is an excellent opportunity to wake up, to see that whatever self concept or story about Mike and Catherine might be going on, that's not really who or what you are. And it's the identification with that that generates the psychological suffering. There's another way, too, a more conventional way to look at it if you are identified with the story of Mike or the story of Catherine, and that is that what we call imposter syndrome can be a useful signal to just check for alignment and integrity. Meaning, if you walk around laughing at jokes you don't really find funny, or if you go around pretending to have opinions you don't really hold, or you go around, shutting up or conforming when you really have a deeper sense that it's time to speak out, you'll feel phony and you'll feel fake in a sense. So it could be a useful guide or teacher to go, am I in alignment here? Do I have integrity? Do I have congruence? Do I have a sense of congruency? Now, somewhat ironically, sometimes we also easily confuse ideology with integrity. So sometimes we go around having standards for ourselves that might be very perfectionistic, or we demand that we must come across a particular way, and that other people have to like us, for example, or that we have to be in control. And these are completely unrealistic, expectations and demands to have. So imposter syndrome in that sense can also be a useful wake-up call to check your integrity, so to speak, and to see what are the basic premises here that I am operating out of. So in either ways, imposter syndrome is right on the money. It hits the nail on the head. It's damned useful if utilized as an opportunity to wake up. If you are looking to make some changes in your life and you're looking to explore some coaching, change work, or even mentoring, I invite you to reach out to me to see if we could be a good fit at provocativehypnosis.com. If you happen to be watching this in November 2024, know that I'm doing a one-day masterclass online on how to help clients who are very jealous. This is a great market. A lot of people struggle with this. Relatively few people know how to work with it. If you're interested in this, you can check out the seminar. It's this Saturday, the 30th of November, from 12 p.m. UK time to 12 a.m. to 6 p.m. UK time. That's Saturday, the 30th of November, 2024. And you can find the information at ayetherandalchemy.net. I will put a link to both provocativehypnosis.com, that's for the change work with me, and to ayetherandalchemy.net down below. Also, in February 2025, we will be doing an updated psychological illusion model course. So if you're interested in that, check that out too at ayetherandalchemy.net. As always, thanks for listening.